So we're going to be talking about our restorative practices initiative. My name is Ashley Bolware. I'm an analyst on the on the prevention division, but I focused on the substance use prevention side, and I'll pass it along to the co-presenters.
Hi, I'm Kathy Merrick. I'm from Santa Clara Unified School District, and I'm a mental health program coordinator supporting our wellness program.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Del Bono, and I'm part of the Herd Alliance, and I'm so tempted to sing karaoke right now, but I won't.
And she might.
I'm not, Jazz, she said that they have it stationed how it will project on the screen, but if you can't see me, I can move over.
So we can't move it. We thought we were going to have a little different situation. Okay, so if you want to move to someplace that feels better, please do that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for some of you, the circle may feel a little uncomfortable. So we wanted to get started and acknowledge that this may not be your average learning situation, or this may be new to you. However, we're in a circle because in restorative practices, a circle is a key feature to the practice itself. The reason being, I'm going to go over a few. It won't be on the board, just on the projector. I just wanted to talk about it. So one of the reasons why we sit in a circle is for equality. So the circle is literally, obviously, everyone is having equal seating. It's for equity because everyone has the same opportunity for speaking. It's for safety and trust because you can see everyone in the circle. There's no surprises on what's happening. It's for responsibility because everyone will play a role while you're sitting in a circle. It also reminds you to facilitate rather than lecture. So in restorative practices, when you're in a circle, it is a collaborative and you're working together, whether you're with your team, your coworkers, your youth, wherever you're with, whatever environment you're in, you're working together. You're building connections and it creates community. So circles can be used for something as simple as a check-in. How are you doing? They can be used for serious content. They can be used for proactive relationships to build your team and build your relationships with youth, or they can be used in a harm situation when you need to repair something that's done or a serious situation. And also in circle, there's always something called a talking piece. Now the talking piece can be something simple like a pen or something mundane, but generally you want it to be symbolic of the group that you're working with, something that's special to that group. And with this talking piece, it basically just enforces that whoever holds it is the only person that's speaking. But it also brings attention that everyone that is in that circle to build that equality should have their attention on that speaker. So this allows maybe your youth who are silent or anybody you're working with who doesn't feel comfortable speaking. This gives them that power to know that it's okay for them to come out. It's okay for them to come out of their shell and to talk. Normally, we wouldn't have a big projector in the middle. There would be just a centerpiece. So the centerpiece could also be used to break up the monotony if you're uncomfortable or if you don't want to keep staring across at someone. So it's just kind of something to gaze your eyes to, something to kind of hone you back in so that you can reset yourselves. And so with that said, also I wanted to acknowledge in a circle, if there's ever any gaps, you want to kind of close that up because we're not in our time constraints. We're not going to do that today, but you don't want there to be any gaps. So I'm going to start, I'm going to pass it to my left and we're just going to go around really quickly. And with what you just heard about what a circle is, I want you just to tell us your name and tell us one word, how are you feeling about circle? And it could be anything: scared, unsure, uncertain. There's no right or wrong answer. So again, my name is Ashley and I'm excited to be here. If you can talk loud. I don't know if we need to pass the mic. Okay.
Thank you, Ashley, for this. I received it. I'm Sister Dr. T-Mac. I am so comfortable in this circle. And catch me in an hour.
My name is Courtney. My pronouns are she, they. And I feel included. Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa. My pronouns are she, her. I feel welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley, she, her.
Jennifer, and I feel thankful.
My name is Kathy, and I'm feeling inspired.
Thank you, everyone, for participating. And so, what are restorative practices? So, like I said, restorative practices is there are tools and it's a set of skills that you're given to develop community and build relationships. So, you can proactively build your healthy relationships and a sense of community. You can improve your school climate and culture by addressing youth behavior and improving relationships between students, between coworkers, and between staff. And you can hold individuals accountable and repair harm and restore those relationships. So, and I made a note that it's important to know that restorative practices isn't about excusing anyone's behaviors. And I made that specifically for anyone working in schools, especially students. It's about holding them accountable in a way that they understand that they are separate from those behaviors, that they are accepted and that they are still welcomed in that environment despite whatever it is. And that can be applied to anyone, even if you're working through a conflict if you're a manager, right? It's about accepting and encouraging people that they belong where they are at. And so here, there's a quote up there. So this is the social discipline window, which is from the Institute of Restorative Practices, which is where we have been trained from. And the quote is, "The fundamental hypothesis of restorative practices is that human beings are happier, more cooperative and productive, and more likely to make positive changes in their behavior when those in positions of authority do things with them rather than to them." And so the thought of this is that in order for you to make effective change with your agency, you have to be building your team 80% of the time, not responding to an issue. And so with that, a proactive community building, you would want to, let me slow down. So basically, restorative practices isn't just about when things go wrong. It's about including everyone all the time. And so this here is showing a punitive person, which would be high in control and low in support, which would be someone, I had some examples down here, would be someone who often uses a tone of voice that excuses or that accuses, or blames other. There's a lack of support and directions, and notices inappropriate behavior more than appropriate behaviors. A neglectful person would be someone low in control and also low in support. And this may look like someone who lacks consistent engagement, does not appear concerned about the quality of a student's work or another team member's work or whoever their subordinate is, for lack of better words, ignores inappropriate behaviors or uses only videos and worksheets if you're in a teaching environment. A permissive person is an individual who is low in control and also high in support. So they're doing something for someone, or they're excusing their behaviors. They don't consistently set limits, makes excuses for other people. But all of these signs can also be a sign of burnout or compassion fatigue when you're working in an environment and you're providing care, or you're with youth, or you're with a difficult subset of a population. But ideally, you want to be in that with box 80% of the time, which is someone who has clear written goals and objectives. They're using effective language, meaning they're using I statements about how they're feeling. They're not placing blame on others, and they have high standards. I think we're gonna pass. So I'm gonna pass it to Jennifer.
Thank you, Ashley. So Ashley shared a bit about what restorative practices are, and there's even more that we could share, so much more that we could share, but those are just the basics, right? The principles around it, and also some of the practices, namely circles. So I'm going to share with you what we've been engaged with probably for the last almost a year now in Santa Clara County. So Ashley comes from behavioral health, substance use prevention, and I'm with the Hurt Alliance and suicide prevention. And we teamed together to launch an initiative. And we engaged school districts within Santa Clara County to join us, and a few CBOs, community-based organizations, to join us. And our goal and our mission was really to build capacity of adults in our county to promote protective factors for youth, so that we are really building resiliency for actually not even just youth, for everyone, right, for everyone. And the goal is 1 million restorative practitioners within our county, and I think we can do it because we will, because our initiative is building capacity of others to do the work. And so from January 2023 to present, we've been busy. After we engaged our districts with information sessions, what this is, how you can be involved, and really that we really were engaging districts at a district level. So really trying to build capacity at the top level to then build capacity within that district to further restorative practices. We engaged 10 school districts. Well, we engaged more than that. 10 school districts, though, answered the call. And the county office, Santa Clara County Office of Education joined us as well. So we have Eastside, we have Berryessa, we have Moreland, Santa Clara Unified, San Jose Unified, Milpitas Unified, Evergreen, Mountain View, Los Altos, Los Gatos, and Oak Grove school districts, and then the Santa Clara County Office of Education in our cohort. We have trained 45 people from that cohort in the Tier 1 basic restorative practices for educators, how to build relationships and the basics like Ashley just talked about. And we did that in January. Ashley was with us as well. And so we did that training. And then beyond that, we asked people to go back and practice. Practice. The mindsets. Am I being a restorative person? What does it mean to be restorative? Is this system I'm in charge of restorative? Is this meeting? Like really just kind of go there, even at home. Right? What's your house looking like right now? Is this a restorative environment? I mean, really getting people to think and internalize what that meant, and then to practice with circles. Wherever you had the opportunity to practice circle, at the dinner table, in your meeting, at your school site, we left it open. And so we then engaged those districts. Who's ready to move forward to become a trainer of trainers? And so our districts then selected their people to go forth and train, and we now have 37 trainer of trainers in our cohort, and I'm super proud about that. Kathy's one of them, Ashley is one of them, and our trainers are phenomenal. They are school-based folks, they are community-based organization folks, and they are great storytellers, and they understand the application in schools. So we feel pretty unique in that sense, because even when you engage with a great company like International Institute of Restorative Practices, they're not necessarily school-based folks doing the training. So we now have a very diverse and deep set of trainer of trainers. And they are also now going back and they're doing training at their districts. Beyond that, we've been organizing ways for us to be in community with one another, because as you know, sometimes you learn something and you're excited about it, but you don't really have other people to talk to about it. Like you don't have your restorative practices community. So we have continued the community, and we meet in convenings where we meet like this at different school districts. We share the space and we talk about how it's going, what are the challenges, networking, and supporting one another in developing capacity within our districts to really spread the work. We also have deliverables. So Santa Clara County Behavioral Health, Substance Use Prevention is paying for the training, the trainer of trainers, and all of the time and energy around this. So in return, what districts are doing is we've asked them, select data. How are you going to measure this work, the impact of this work? Put that work together in a team, and also start working on revising your discipline matrix at your school district so that you can include restorative options. So there's nothing mandated there, but it's the invitation to create options that work for the district. And then we've asked them to train. So each trainer of trainer is now conducting 2 trainings within their district. Most people are partnering up. Kathy has 2 partners, right? And they're working together in that training. And we also feel like there's strength in that, and really supporting people to be competent and developed in their training skills. Beyond that, we have now what we're engaged with now. What are we doing now with this small amount of money, but we're taking it far and doing a lot with it? We have a symposium that we're hosting next week, Growing Wellbeing Through Restorative Practices. And so we have 80-something folks now in our cohort and beyond coming to that event, where we'll be together in breakout sessions, really developing that work within our districts. and we're also moving to the tier 2. So once we've really focused on really healthy, solid relationships in tier 1, what happens then if there is harm to that relationship? We're training folks in the next level, which is harm repair, conferencing circles. And then we're also supporting with evaluation support. Behavioral health has evaluation people, like teams of people who do this professionally, and they're going to engage our districts in support around developing evaluation tools that they can use to measure the work. We're also using some of our funds to contract with International Institute of Restorative Practices to coach our districts. So we're grouping them by need. How do we align this with social emotional learning and PBIS and restorative practices and getting coaching around that? And again, we have our convenings where we're in community with one another about this work. And the next slide, please. And I just want to tell you why we did this. I'm a suicide prevention team member. Ashley is a substance use prevention member, and we realized pretty quickly that we have common protective factors for suicide prevention and substance use prevention. We could also even say violence prevention, chronic absenteeism prevention. I mean, we can go on and on and on. We share protective factors that are built and supported through restorative practices and circles. The idea of connectedness, feeling connected. How do you do that? How do you grow that within a district? Well, this is a practice that we're relying on because we have co-invested in the protective factors and developing healthy relationships and problem solving through this process. Similarly, as we start developing the conferencing circles and the harm repair strategies and skill sets, we're now also going to have a tier 2 strategy that we can share around reducing risk factors around out of school time. So we know that when youth are out of school, they are at risk for substance use. We know that substance use is a risk factor for suicide, right? So we can now have a strategy that we can work on together. We're all speaking the same language in the district and in the county and supporting each other in this work to reduce the risk factors through this strategy. Okay, and the next slide. And this is just an example of how the restorative practices for educators and in the basic, right, the relationship building circles and the how to be a restorative person is tier 1 in a substance use tiered approach. And then how the conferencing circles are a tier 2 strategy for reducing out of school time. And we could continue layering that, right? How this could also be a tier 1 and tier 2 strategy for our suicide prevention, comprehensive suicide prevention plan, chronic absenteeism plan, right? Violence prevention plan. So I just want to give you an idea of what it looks like in that tiered approach. Okay. I'm going to now ask my colleague, Kathy, to share a little bit because Kathy is a longtime member of our suicide prevention partnership in Santa Clara County in behavioral health, and she has engaged in with us in this cohort with restorative practices, and we've had some conversations about what is this? Wait, this is a lot more than what we were thinking it was. And so she's going to share a little bit about how this really does grow well-being, right? And how this is how this really does meet suicide prevention efforts through her lens in Santa Clara County. Santa Clara Unified.
Okay, thank you. So I have been at Santa Clara Unified for a long time, and I have been engaged in suicide prevention for at least the last 10 to 15 years. And I would say, restorative practices for me feels like a path forward because we know that we have students who have experienced significant trauma, especially post-pandemic. We can assume that. But we also have adults that have experienced trauma. And so teachers often are feeling overwhelmed, and we talk about social emotional learning, and it really starts with adult SEL, adult social and emotional well-being. And so restorative practices works on these different levels. We function as adults when we create a caring atmosphere where there's a sense of belonging, adults feel safe, and then they can create in their classrooms safe spaces through relationship. So in my district, we have 31 schools. It's a unified school district. And so it's been a part of our wellness plan since the beginning to attend to adult well-being. because if the adults are well, kids will be well. And we know that the sense of belonging is created with every single person who sets foot on a campus, not just the mental health providers. And so we want to make sure that we are all attending to one another. Because we have 31 schools, you can imagine we have a lot of different ways that initiatives play out. And so I said to Jennifer and Ashley, I'm going to start where I can start. So we do have a larger initiative around restorative practices, and it is rolling out at different sites in different ways. But I am circling up my team of 24 mental health clinicians in every single meeting that we have. And I'm making sure that we are talking about things that matter, that it creates opportunities for cross conversation and a sense of belonging, a sense of connection, because they are the heart of that often at their campus, is creating that for the adults on their campuses. And so for me, it was thinking about where am I going to start? And so this year, we decided to actually have a theme around trees that we were going to pay attention to nourishing our roots and get really grounded and put our stake in the ground for self-care, because if one of us is well, everybody benefits. And so it's been an intention this year that we're kind of in every weekly announcements we're coming back to. Every time we meet, we are circling up. Every time I instituted Monday morning huddles that are virtual so they can plug into the team and just connect, because we know that that has such a difference. It makes such a difference. So for teachers, I was a high school teacher before I became a mental health clinician. And for teachers, I think this is such a great framework, because often our teachers want to connect with students, but it's a very overwhelming job. And often they have like 150 kids at the secondary level that they see within a day. And so being able to do that is difficult unless you create space. And this actually makes space to incorporate that in a classroom. And then the teacher is part of the circle. So that teacher has also a sense of belonging with their students. And so I think this for me feels really exciting, which is why I wanted to participate, because I want to be able to support our sites as they're getting this up and running, because honestly, teacher support is my number one passion, because they are the face of the school. They are the ones that kids are in the room with day in and day out. And so if we can help a teacher be well, to me, that's my 100%, because they have a ripple effect that's very large. So for me, it was exciting when this opportunity came up, because now we can go out and train teachers and administrators. And so we're kind of in the process of being able to figure out that path forward. And so to me, this is a really exciting opportunity. So did I forget anything that I was supposed to mention? No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Next slide. So we would love for you to contact us if you're interested. If you're interested in learning more about the work that we're doing and even helping develop the work that we will be doing, please reach out to us. Either one of us, it's fine. And we'd love to talk to you about the entry point into this work. Some of your districts are already in this work. And so we just want to engage others in the possibility. Bye, ladies. We'll see you in Gilroy. Bye. And the next slide, please. We want to give some space now for questions. I'm not sure where we are on time. Okay, great. Thank you. So we have some time for questions. And we'll stop the talking piece right now, but I think I might take the microphone close to you if you have a question. Okay? Or I can repeat it so that we get it recorded. Are there any questions at this point about what we're doing, what it looks like, or anything else related to restorative practices? Yes.
I previously interned at my school district. So I heard a lot of feedback from students and their teachers about their teachers who were
So the question is, when you're hearing from students that teachers don't want to engage with them and connect with them, how do we deal with that in the work that we're doing, right? So I want to be really transparent to you right now that in the work that we're doing, we're building district capacity to do the training within their district. But I will share with you that is very common, right? I used to be a teacher and a continuation high school principal, right? And deal with a lot of teachers and adults, just adults. And there's sometimes is that sense of kids should, already know how to behave, or I'm here to teach, I'm not here, that those kinds of barriers. I think the way that we're addressing that through the work that we're doing is very similar to what Kathy just shared. Having been through what I've been through, I'm a parent, I have a high school student, but I also burnt out. I really burnt out. Compassion fatigue, not just with teachers, right? Caregivers is real. I live in Gilroy. We had a garlic festival shooting in our town. Very much impacted. It changed me. A lot of fear. Changed the way I showed up, even in my role as an administrator. My health, and I can tell you that's what I see when you share that with me. I'm seeing compassion fatigue. I'm seeing negative self-talk. I'm seeing someone who's probably not even restorative to themselves, right? Who isn't then able to show up for others in a way that's restorative or engaging or connected. So that's how I see it now. And I think that's how we're trying to address that work through what we're doing. And I can tell you, in the work that we're doing, everyone wants to jump to circles because everyone wants to fix kids. The circle is for them to learn or to fix, what they're doing, or to have a harm repair circle so they learn what they did wrong so they come back. And they're like, to what? Come back to what? And we're trying to focus on coming back to a relationship. So then that's what we need to help adults learn how to build and use strategies like the restorative thinking, but also a skill set around facilitating the circle possibly, or even the questions, so that they can start building the connections and relationships so that when harm does happen, that they have a strategy to bring them back to, right, the relationship. I just left Overfelt this morning, and I dropped off my book. Nancy Gutierrez is going to be there, and I want her to sign my book. And I talked to the vice principal there a lot. She's a neighbor, and it's a lot that people are dealing with, right? So we're trying to help the adult right now and put the oxygen mask on themselves so that they can then support others. I hope I answered your question. Do you guys want to add anything?
I don't want this mic. I think it's important to remember that resistance is not always resistance. It could be fear, and it could be, like you said, the burnout. But so one of the things that we've been trained and the cohort's been working on is that you have to meet the person where they're at. So the resistance has to be met with being shown a restorative way, right? So if you're fighting, or if the teacher's like, why? Well, maybe we have to ask, well, what happened? Why are you not interested in working with this student? Why don't you hear? So it's not always, oh, we'll come to circle. Like she said, there's some people trying to get teachers to come to circles right away, but they're not ready. So you have to back up and you have to figure out what happened at the start in order to understand how you can move forward and how you can repair that relationship with that teacher. That teacher may not trust that administrator in order to trust, why are we doing this? Like, I already have A, B, C, D to do, right? And so you have to kind of step back and meet them where they're at. And if they're not ready to do that, then maybe there's other ways besides circles. And so it's also important to teach teachers that it's not necessarily a big event. A circle could be, how was your weekend? What is your favorite thing? That builds the relationship. It doesn't have to be what happened with this kid, because you have to start small in order to reach them when they're in an escalated state or when something's going wrong. So. Yes, Jasmine.
Given that we are at a suicide prevention conference and some people in the room may not be in a school setting, how do we make the connection between restorative practices and this everyday life and prevention work?
Well, I think So restorative practices, it's how your mindset is. And so like at home, I use it very much with my 8-year-old. Heck, I use it with my husband, right? It's a way, it is a way of stepping back and caring and seeing a person where they are. For instance, like I use this in the training. My husband, he was supposed to do some things. I came home from work, he didn't do them. So I immediately went off, right? Like, you said you were gonna clean up and what I like, and I had to stop back and like, because I realized my and how I came into him, because naturally I'm a punitive person. And it's okay to admit that. Like, I acknowledge I'm punitive. So I have to be intentional with how I am with him, because my reactions as a punitive person deflated him, right? You have to step back and say, okay, well, how was this person? What is their experiences? Why did they do this, right? And I think for me, it's really just being mindful that everyone's experience isn't the same. So I need to be intentional with how you're working with them. How are you caring for them? And your mindset when you're addressing them. There's a lot of different things in the training, like Jennifer said, if you're interested, but there's a thing called, I forgot what it's called, but engagement, explanation clarity, and no, expectation clarity and explanation. So when you're working with people, sometimes they want to know the why, like, why do we have to do this? And that might help. And them asking why is not disrespectful to you. So like, I use that with my kids. They want to know why. They're not trying to be smart mouth. They're really trying to understand what it is. And so I think it's just how you shift your mind into understanding why people are behaving the way they want to, or how they are.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
So, it almost sounds to me a lot like, around the principles of civil discourse. Because the principles around civil discourse are, how you empathize with someone else, how you're able to listen to them, how you're able to communicate with them, how you put yourself in their shoes, and how you can just be in a circle and really be able to hear them. And even if there's all these differences in how you might think or feel about a particular topic or subject, you're still open-minded so that you can still hear them and, as you said, see where they are so that you can work together to get to that solution. Maybe there isn't a solution right this time, but at least that you can understand and be where they are so you can empathize and they need to do what they need to do and we need to do what we need to do, but you can still better understand where they are. So I know it just sounds to me like a lot of those principles of civil discourse. Yeah.
Thank you, Linda. Yes.
Along those lines, I just wanted to say, I did counsel and schools training in Southern California years ago. And one of the things that I also trained in was nonviolent communication. And so when you use that language, right, and you get people used to the language, it really is a different model of communicating, right? And so you're not, the circle then doesn't become the space where more harm can happen, because if we don't have norms, right, and ways of speaking with each other, then sometimes the circle will, end up creating more harm.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we have time for one more question before we do our closing circle. Anyone else? Yes. Yeah.
I really like the circle. I never really thought about it in terms of like how Ashley explained it, that we can kind of all see each other and something happens in the background, you can't see it, and when you're kind of very structured. So thank you for doing this. It's more of a comment too of a switch in perspective that I think of when just with the examples that you all are giving. In terms of like the student-teacher interaction, right? One thing that comes to mind is that switch of perspective of rather than saying what's wrong with this person, switching it to what happened to this person so that we can kind of have more of an empathic approach to that interaction. And also with that same compassion that we are giving, bringing that back to ourselves. Because I think we have to, like you said, wear that oxygen mask first. So having that same compassion towards us, and then I think that's going to help us serve. I can't find the words, but you know, be greater at what we do and actually make a difference. So I just wanted to make those comments.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's universal, right? As human beings, how we show up to serve others in any capacity, right? Thank you. So what we'd like to do now is conclude by modeling a closing circle. And again, we will have the talking piece, and I'll move to my right this time if that's okay. Give you a heads up. I'm going to my right. And this time, if you could just share maybe a word or phrase about how you're leaving today's workshop thinking about circles, or wondering about circles, or hopeful about circles. I'm giving you lots of entry points. So anything that's really coming up to you right now about what you experienced today in our workshop, I would love for you to be able to share. Okay? And are you okay to start? Okay, great. Thank you.